notice you don't have your laptop, but you got one.
I haven't taken it out yet.
Oh, that, I see. Getting ready. Okay, if I call your name, oops, no. Is Mr. Matthews here? Come get your homework. So let me remind you that on the 18th, what's today now?
Fourth.
So about 2 weeks from now, I think, it will be, Hunter, are you here? Come this way. Show me that after the class. We'll be in the, please talk to me after the class. I appreciate it. Okay, so let me remind you of your presentation. Mr. Gully, when is yours?
It's the 21st
21st, let's see.
of November.
You're right, 21st. When's your paper due? 7 days later.
7
Okay.
days.
And they're all going to be due at 11:15 a.m. So that's our magic date. And, well, not date, time. Because you remember our class starts at 11:15, so 11:15 is the deadline, not 5 p.m. So that's just so that everybody could remember. In other words, if it is during the class, it will be by the time I walk in, not at the end of the class. Because remember last time, there were students who are still at the lab pointing and do all that. It should be due at the beginning of the class. And remember to get the writing center, to do the proofreading. I think I talked about the process already, didn't I, for this class? Now, do a rough draft first, and then do your PowerPoint. Get your PowerPoint slide content from your first draft, and then after that I feedback, and after the feedback, and your other students' feedback as well. And if they're a good comment, I basically ask you to add it to your content in your paper. And then that's when you go see the writing center before you hand it in. Oh, boy.
Can we just get a teacher to
I'd
read
like
it?
to touch this time.
I know she here.
Vince.
Can we just get another teacher to proofread our paper?
Well, why not the writing center?
No, don't have time. I feel like I could just like.
Don't have time?
No.
They do online too. I prefer writing center.
Why
and-
they have a PhD like you, so they would know.
Why don't you talk to me about it, okay?
Okay.
After the class, so, because I'm not sure what typically that's okay, but I would like did y'all touch already?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
guess we're just intensely unlucky.
Something is sticky on that keyboard. I was hoping to get some magic touch on some of these. So, and sometimes that helps, Students touch them. Not that I'm superstitious or anything like that. Okay, today we're going to start a new chapter, and this is a very exciting chapter. I say exciting because economics to me is very exciting, and this should be something that you could also do your paper on. The application is all over the place. Okay, we're gonna do the economics of information. So, now remember when we talked about the perfect competition, one of the assumption was, anybody remember? Both the consumers and producers, buyers and sellers have what information? Start with P. Perfect information. Right, and that's a perfect competition sense. So in this chapter, we're going to relax the assumptions. This is very interesting. So that's what it means, what I just said. right? Invisible hand, we can see perfect condition of the market. We're assuming that buyers and sellers are well informed. But it's not always true, given that consumers are usually not well informed or fully informed, they must employ strategies for gathering information. What we call kicking the tires. If you go to a used car market and buy cars, do you think you have a lot of information looking at a used car? Do you think they will tell you like this car has been in the accident?
No.
No, you have to find out yourself. You have to so-called kick the tires, check it out, take it out for a drive, a spin, and ask all the relevant questions. So a used car market is a good example of the sellers have a lot of information. They're not necessarily want to tell you, but the buyers do not have enough information. Now, when it comes to buying insurance, how many of you have insurance, health insurance? It's the other way. You as a consumer's buyers have a lot of information. You know how sick you are, that you got pre-existing conditions, you have been injured from sport and all that, medical history, Does the insurance company know? No, they have to ask you to fill out the form, and assuming you played it faithfully and truthfully, that, and that's one example that what we call asymmetric information. In other words, I'm not sure if I spelled it correct. Oh boy, let's go back to my, just for the sake of spelling, I can't believe this, 18. Asymmetric, okay, 2M. Asymmetric means one side, okay, like you hear about term asynchronous, for example, one side, that means one party has more information than the other. So this is what we're gonna look at today. Let's look at one example, buying a ski, a set of skis. Well, most of us, how many of you skied here? Some of you, okay, very good. So how do you decide what to buy? And then there's a store called Skis Are Us, like Toys R Us, they have a group of knowledgeable sales staff, and then they have a big inventory, and then they recommend you this particular model known as Salomon Extreme. Like you scream when you go downstream. 9 skis for $600. This is a store. You walk into, they say, okay, what are you? Are you a novice? Are you an intermediate? Or are you an advanced skier? If you are such a level, we recommend this particular set. So usually you go on with some conversation, talking to each other, exchanging some information, and then they tell you what to buy, okay? So that's good because the salesperson has information. So the price is $600. You also know that you could also buy the same set of skis online for $400. So then we ask this question at the bottom. Is spending $600 on the right skis better than $400 on the wrong one? How many of you say yes? Okay. How many of you say no? Okay. Those of you who say no, why? Because you think the difference is too huge, is that right? Between 400 and 600, is that the main idea behind? Okay, yes.
I'd say no, just because they're the same skis. It says these skis can be purchased, like they're the same brand.
Right.
If I can pay $1 for a Coke here or 50 cents out there, why would I pay $1 in here? Same concept.
Okay, so it's more like the price, right? Okay. So, but then, okay, the correct answer is yes. Okay, not no. And the reason is because, and this could be because most of you who say no, it could be because the spread of the difference between the price is too high. What if it is like, say, 600 and 580? Okay, then, the choices might be a little bit more clear. Now, in this case, the correct answer, according to the book, is yes. Because what if you buy the wrong one? Let's just say you spend that $400 and shipped to you, and then you look at it and say, whoops, ta-da, something's missing or something, you know, and then you have to ship them back. Uh-huh. That's usually the big thing. If you have to ship them back, you know, you have to package it. It takes time. And then insurance, all that, because this is like a big thing here. So at the end of the day, because of all that, you know, we say information costs something. So if the salesperson has more information, that's more worth it. But people know about it. How many of you been to, let's see, Barnes and Noble? You still go there? Why do you go there? Do you buy books?
No.
You do. See, some of you say no. Why? Because you would browse the books and then you won't buy it there. You will go to Amazon.com and buy it. And they know. This is called free riding. They say, well, you don't come in just to sit at Starbucks and drink coffee and, well, people do that. And most people browse books, right? But they don't buy. Some people do, depending on what kind of books. But most of the books, you know, you could get it online for better price. And that's why they're not doing so well now. They have to bundle up with this Starbucks and all that to get people to come, you know. But then they got very smart. What do they do now? I'm not sure if they do that because I haven't been back for a long time, but I know in some stores they start to wrap up the book with plastic, right? So in other words, you can't really just browse it. You have to ask them to open it for you. Okay, so let's get to the point here. So when I say all this, I want to introduce a term known as middleman. How many of you have heard about the term middleman? Okay, what does the middleman means to you? The go-between, right? Okay, so if you're buying a ticket in the old days, what do? You go to a travel agent, correct? Today, do you do that?
No, you go online.
You go online, Travelocity, what is all this price online and all that, right? So that's an agent, that's a middleman. And we say that middleman adds value. So let's look at how it is. Because a middleman helps you to collect information and save you tons of,
Money.
well, money and
Time.
time and work, you know, because how many of you, when you search for a ticket, how long does it take you to search for a ticket?
Depends on what you're looking for.
Okay, let's say if you want to travel to outside the country, go to South Africa, for example, how long do you think it will search before you are happy and say, okay, I'll buy this ticket? For me, it's about 3 months. That's me. If I were to go to New York City, that's very easy. I could do it easily in less than an hour, right? And depending on what time, what day, I usually do rounds. I do stages for overseas traveling. You know, like if I were to go to South Africa, I would check first round and then say, so this is what it is, this airline that. And then you have this a lot of coordination going on. You know, you have to coordinate with your trip and you plan your own trip, everything. You look at the maps, you know, take it out, okay, we drive this way and all that. So that's why it took me so long. And then I don't buy the ticket, I just kind of like keep it in mind. Then I guess weeks later I come back and then I got more information and looking in. Usually, the earlier you book, the better is the price. And then if you wait till later, the price basically goes up. But sometimes you have more options the later you wait to. Okay, so sales agent is considered a middleman, the guy who is at the store recommending what ski to buy. Providing the service of gathering information, so that's what they do, give you more information and so that you are better informed, you know what to buy. Now in the old days, you know, like when buying a PC, well today it's so easy, you walk into Best Buy and look at it and say, oh yeah, I buy this one, that one. Do y'all do a lot of research before you buy the computer? How many of you do? Research in terms of what? The price?
No.
Very good. The quality, okay, of the parts, very good. Okay, very good. Now, in the past, I used to do that too. I would walk into, they didn't have Best Buy. They have something called Computer City, Circuit, I think Circuit City, I don't know if they're still around. Is that Circuit City? Yeah, so I will go in and I'm already very knowledgeable when I walk in because I already done all my research. And what I did was I researched them parts by parts. That's just me. And then when I walk in, I ask them, what's the best one? And then they say, this one. I say, what's in it? So we start discussing for about an hour, what's in the motherboard, the brand, and the speed and everything. You get all into all the technical issues. And then I said, well, thank you for your time. I'll think about it. Ooh. They don't like that because, they have just spent an hour telling you and you're not buying from them. So what do? I go online and say, okay, same order, and I buy online. I save a bundle. Well, not a bundle, a little bit. That's called free riding. We all do that. Is there anything wrong with that?
No.
There's nothing wrong with that, but the store people are also ahead of us. They learn. So over time, they're not going to give you a lot of information. Have you ever noticed when you go to a used car lot to buy a car, one of the first questions they ask you is,
What you're looking for?
how long? Yeah, when are you gonna look to buy? When do you want to buy the car? Like, how long are you thinking about? Oh, when do you want to buy the car? Because a lot of people shop, they don't necessarily buy it. So if it is say like about a week, then they are very interested in you. So if you say something like 3 months, and they have some idea, you say, well, I'm not gonna waste time on this one. I'm not gonna spend 1 hour on this one. It's not gonna buy it. So because of this free riding information, the producer of the information or the products are not as willing to give you information because of that. Okay, so, and that's when the optimum comes in. When is the optimal amount of providing information? How much is too much to give? What is that optimal amount? Okay, more trades occur. Higher total economic surplus. Again, this is what we go for, right? In every chapter, we want to maximize total economic surplus. And basically, when you have middlemen, they add value. How do they add value? We'll get to that in a minute. So when they add value, one way is they channels low value users to high value users. For example, if you were to buy a house, how long does it take to buy a house?
Like a year.
Huh?
A year.
A year? Some people say 3 months, a month. 3 months to 6 months, 9 months. A year, it seems too long, depending on how urgent you are. If you just move to the area, you really, these people who are in the flood, they're looking for a place to stay now. They're looking. They can wait a year, I don't think. So maybe a few months, okay, to 6 months, 9 months. And searching takes time. So when you go look at a house, it takes time if you were to do it on your own, correct? Everybody agree? You look at a newspaper and then you try to hit all the area, and some people don't advertise on the newspaper. They go through this so-called agents. And if you go to agent, it's very fast. You sit down in front of the office and tell them, okay, I want exactly 3 bedrooms. I want exactly 2 bathrooms, or 2.5 bathrooms, whatever, a garage. A yacht, whatever. Okay, so they punch in all your desired features, and then boom, about 20 matches. You know what I'm talking about. So then, in other words, they could do this a lot faster, and then you pay them a service. That's what they do, from a low value user to a high value user. So let's look at one example. Auction is the same thing. Why do we have auction? So auction shows you that the people who are most willing to pay the highest price gets it, right? And if you're not so willing to pay a higher price, you drop out, basically. So let's look at this example of buying a baseball cut. How many of you collect baseball cuts? No? Okay. So everybody heard about Babe Ruth. This is a famous baseball player during the Great Depression. So, there's a lot of baseball cards with his pictures on it. They're worth a lot of money. So, this guy, his name is Alice. He wanted to sell a Babe Ruth, baseball card. And let's just say that his reservation price is $300. Okay, and what's that reservation price? Tell me. Is this a buyer's price or seller's price? Yeah, he's selling. So that means, is that a minimum or maximum?
Maximum.
I'm sorry?
Minimum.
That's minimum, yes. The lowest that he will let go. He put an ad in the local newspaper and it cost $5. Okay, remember that. Next, he has the option of buying it on the eBay. Or putting the baseball card on the eBay. So if he did that, the eBay would charge 5% of the final price. Okay, so we're trying to compare two situations. One is to advertise his card, on the local newspaper. The second one is to go to the eBay and see which one comes out better in terms of total economic surplus. Okay, so the maximum price in the local market is $400. In other words, if he were to advertise on the local newspaper, the best price he could get is $400. Is that good? That's already better than his reservation price by 100 already, right? But remember, he has to also pay that $5. You have to minus that $5 off. So if you look at the economic surpluses in the local market, you get $400, the highest price that he could get, minus $5, which is the newspaper ad cost. $300 is his reservation price. So he get the economic surplus, in this case, producer surplus of 95. But let's look at the auction on eBay. The maximum price at eBay market is 900 and 800. Okay, the reason we have two numbers here is because the auction, depending on what type of auction they do, they have the Dutch or English auction. I'm not going to get into all that detail, but basically there are two numbers because 900 is the highest bidder. Okay, the highest bid is 900, so the people who get 900 will get the product. However, usually the winner pays the second highest price, which is 800. That's one of the rules of the auction, depending on what auction you're in. So we're in this particular situation. I thought I should explain that. So therefore, this guy's producer surplus will be, if you do it in eBay, the highest price that you get is 800, because that's what the consumer will end up paying. The highest bidder will end up paying the second highest bid. So therefore, 800. How do we get 40? Where does that 40 comes from?
5%.
Very good. 5% of what?
The auction price.
Okay, so 5% of 800 is $40. Very good. You have to minus off the cost that goes to eBay, the middleman, and then his reservation price is 300. So he got a producer surplus of 460. That's already much higher than that. And plus, there's one more, consumer surplus. The person who won the highest bid paid 900, but again, he ended up paying the second highest bid because that's the rule. He won it, but he paid the second highest bid, so there is a consumer surplus of 100. So again, the total economic surplus from using eBay as a middleman, total economic surplus is to add consumer surplus, which is 100, plus producer surplus, which is 460. So you got 560, which is much higher than if you were to advertise in the local market. So this example basically is to tell you that with a middleman, it does add value, okay, to the whole sales, whole transaction. So you are maximizing total economic surplus. From having none consumer surplus, you got something big. And plus, producer surplus is higher because, hey, with eBay, you could reach a lot more market beyond just your local market. So if somebody out there is willing to pay 900, how about that? Rather than 400 in the Robertson County. You know what I'm saying? So somebody from England might be willing to pay for that. So let's look at some nice pictures here. This is some of the one that over the years, I found it on the internet. Some of Babe Ruth famous baseball cards and how much they were worth. Well, at that point of collection when I did it, that was probably about 2 years ago. So as you can see, they're quite expensive. They're very highly valued. This particular one, you have to collect all four to get for that value. So anyway, just to give you some idea, that the example that we did was only $300. Somebody was willing to pay $800. Okay, so now remember a while ago we said what is the optimal amount of information? How much is enough? How much is too much? When do you stop? Okay, so now remember that when you search more, a while ago I talked about these agents buying ticket. And I said I took 3 months, and in some of your cases, maybe an hour. Some of you are very efficient, maybe 2 days, right? So there is such a thing called search cost. Because guess what? Time is money, right? You heard people say that. The more time you spend on it, the search cost goes up. Well, yeah, if you spend 3 months, come on, my search cost is much higher than yours, you know? So what am I saying? So this search cost is your time money. Okay, and we say that, you know, okay, so the more you search, right, your marginal cost is going to go up. And then after a while, you say, oh, that's just so stupid, you know, searching for 3 months. I'm just going to do it in 2 weeks. Cut down this marginal cost because some of these costs I should use it to do other things, teaching or doing research or what have you, because the marginal cost is so high. Now, what about marginal benefit? The longer you search, right, the marginal benefit becomes lower. Because, you know, you get to the point in which you say too much is too much. You heard about a term called information overloading. What does that mean?
You got too much on it.
Too much information, right? You could get to that point. So when is enough? So what we're saying is, yeah, okay, the cost of gathering additional information increases as you spend more time. Although people gather from the cheaper sources first. So the low-hanging fruit principle basically saying, example would be like if you want to buy a used car, you know, you check out your local market first before you go all the way to Raleigh or Charlotte. Might have a bigger market basis and more choices. So in other words, you keep collecting the information until your marginal benefits of collecting information is equal to your marginal cost. Let's look at the diagram here. So you have this in your book also. If you want to turn into it, tell me what page it is. That would be great. Oh, I found it. 310, somewhere there on my book. Yours might be a page off, maybe 309 or 311 somewhere. You see that figure there? Figure 11.1. So let's describe this. Has everybody found it?
It look like it's on page 284.
284 on yours? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, so this is the one that I think I have additional chapters, okay. Is that 11.4 looks like that, Patrice? Mm-hmm. Okay, very good, thank you. So the red line is your marginal cost of information. And what did you notice? It goes up, yes. As you collect more and more information, it become, at some point, it become very steep going up. Almost exponentially. What about the benefit? It comes down. The marginal benefits of information drops, and then at some point hit a certain optimal weight cost, and then the drops are very drastically steep, you know, or accelerating, because it becomes straight, you know. I mean, almost vertical. This means slowly. And then when you get this point. So anyway, where they cross we have what we call I star. Star, of course, means equilibrium or your optimal amount of information. So your book have this expression here, say the optimal amount of information, and then in parentheses, ignorance. So what do you think that word ignorance mean? It happened when marginal cost equals the marginal benefit of collecting information. In other words, anybody have any idea why we have the word ignorancy? No idea. Okay, I'll explain then, if there's no idea. Okay, so that means that beyond this point, right, you would rather be ignorant. I don't want to know more. That's it. So that's why I use the word ignorancy. And all this are good. We're still gathering information. We're still learning, you know. Everything is good. I still got some benefit, marginal benefit, even though it's getting to the point that, you know, is it worth it to search another hour? And then when you hit there, you say, that's it. I think I got information overloading. So beyond that point, I would rather be ignorant. Don't tell me anything more. I already make up my mind. I search enough already. This is the price I want to pay. No more. Have you ever got to that point? Some of you have. Okay, I have got to that point many times because I love to do research. You know, I love to get the lowest pay with quality also, of course, and that's not easy combinations here because sometimes the lowest flight is to fly the Russian airline. How many of you have flown that Russian airline? Ever flown to Sunday? It's the cheapest airline, and guess what? They allow smoking on flight, and that's why. So take your pick if you don't want secondhand smoker. Smoking. I'm not a smoker, so you know. I mean, that's why it's cheaper because they allow smoking on flight. Okay, so let's look at the free rider problem. Invisible hand does not always assure that the optimal amount of information will be available to consumer. True, we talked about it earlier, right? The free riding problem. What is free riding problem? So we are defining it now formally. So that should be in your book somewhere. On the next page, it say, anybody want to read it? Patrice, you want to read it? You got a book? Next page. Go ahead and read that definition on the side.
A incident problem in which too little of a good or service is produced because non-payers cannot be excluded from using it.
Right. That's the same thing as example we say about this sales agent. You cannot exclude people, you know, from using your information. So therefore, you don't want to give so much. If you could, that would be good. But a lot of time you cannot. Okay, there are two guidelines for rational search. Now we use the word rational. Remember back to very first chapter, rational. What is rational? Anybody still remember? That is, if your benefit is greater than cost, then you go for it. If it is less than that, then you stop. Don't do it. Additional search time is likely to be more worthwhile for expensive item than for cheap one. That's why I spent so long searching for air ticket because they are expensive. They're about $2,000, you know, flying to South Africa, I think more than that. Round trip, yeah. And then you have to factor in the hotel when you get there, you know, all the rented car, GPS, all that. And make sure it's in English, not in Afrikaans. So, additional search time, okay, I say that already. For example, hiring an agent to help you to buy a home. It's worth it. Because if you were to search on your own, you know, it would take a very long time, 6 months, if you're doing it on your own. But if you go to an agent, it's faster. Say, oh yeah, 20 matches. Which one do you want? Okay, this one does not have half bathroom, so cross out this one. Finally, down to only about 4. So let's go take a look. So you can make your decision a little bit faster, maybe within a month to 2 months. And if it is a big ticket item, don't you want to shop around a little bit? How many of you gone to look at a car or house and say, well, this is great, honey, let's just buy it? Very seldom. You want to compare, you know. Look at least one more, and a lot of time a few more. The same thing with buying a car. You don't look at a car and say, this is a red Subaru, whoa, it looks good, you know, it looks so sporty and everything, let's buy it. Nobody does that. In fact, the sales agent told me, I would respect you a lot more if you take it out for a spin. I say, oh yes, I will, you know. Would you open the hood? Let me look at the engine. And that impressed them, even though you know nothing about engine. Go ahead and ask them to pop out the engine. You know, pretending that you know a lot. Oh yeah, this is the carburetor. Oh yeah, this is the spark plugs, you know, and touch it, you know, kick the tire, everything. Pretend you know everything. Open the door, let me see the side, you know. I mean, has this been flooded, you know? That's one question you should ask now, because has this car been flooded? You should be able to see signs of that in cars. So they won't tell you, because you know that's the whole thing about the business, right? They say it has not been in the accident. That's one question that people would ask. Of course, you could use Carfax and all that, yes, and they are considered another agent. Okay, so when the cost of a search is higher, we tend to do less of it. True or not? Takes so much time. So then you just basically go for the highest price. Let's look at this example. Two guys, Tom and Tim. They're gonna buy this upright used piano. A used upright piano. So I went to, I guess, eBay and look up some of this. So this one is about 1,500 maybe. Well, hang on, 2,500 from my memory. This one is probably about 4,000 because it looks a little bit more antique, like an antique thing. Whoa, look at this one. This is really 10,000. I'm way there. Okay, so you got some idea what upright piano looks like. So now, the important thing is we give you this assumption. We say, Tom has a car. Tim does not have a car. He has a bicycle. How about that? Doesn't help much. So let me ask you this question next. Which one, Tom or Tim, should expect to examine or look at fewer piano before making a purchase? What's your answer?
Tim.
How many of you say Tom? Raise your hand.
Does Tom have the car?
Well, yeah, that's what they say. Tom has a car. Okay.
Oh,
So how many of you say Tom? Did you raise your hand, Girlie? Come on, class participation. This is still early in the morning. Okay, how many of you say Tim? Majority of you say Tim. And it turns out that Tim is correct. Why?
Because he doesn't have a car.
Well, yeah, you have to say more. It doesn't have a car, so what? So?
Because he less chance, like Tom can go around.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Go ahead, explain.
compare prices and stuff.
Right.
Tim really can't do that. So his choices are limited.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
he's
It
gotta
explained
pick
very well. Yes.
Tim got
He's
sorry?
gotta pick something close to home because he gotta.
That's right. That's right. He's got a bicycle, right? So bicycle can only go so far, right?
Put it on the red wagon.
So, right.
Right.
So on a given weekend, you can only look at one if you don't have a car, right? Whereas the other guy, Tom, could drive to Raleigh, could drive to Charlotte, you know, where you have more choices. So whereas Tim, look at one and say, I gotta buy it, you know. That's it. That's the highest price, 10,000. And he didn't know there was another one available in Charlotte, same. All things being equal, maybe 8,000 or maybe 7,000. So that's it. Very good. So I think you know the answer. Next, we want to look at gamble, like casino. So why are we getting into gambling here? Because the economic information say there is this certain uncertainty, chances, like gambling. You know, you don't know. When you engage in further search, right, there are additional costs involved. We understand that. Marginal cost goes up. And there's uncertain benefit because remember the benefits dropped, marginal benefit. So therefore there's a degree of risk involved. Should I search further? Or what we call gamble from the search. So let's look at one example of, let's say if you flip a coin, okay? So how do we do that? Should you take the gamble or not take the gamble? So what you do is you calculate the expected value of the gamble. What gamble are we talking about? To do the next search or not to do the next search, basically. So this is one example we give using the head and tail if you flip a coin. Okay, so the sum of the possible outcome multiplied by the respective probabilities. So if you look at flipping a coins, right, there are only two choices, right? Come on. A head or a tail. So if it is a head, you win $1. If it is a tail, you lose $1. Fair enough. So expected value will be, there's 50% chance that it will be a head. There's a 50% chance that it will be a tail. So therefore, you take the probability of a head, which is 0.5, 50% times $1. $1 is positive. Next, you add the 50% chance that it will turn up to be a tail, and that one is -1 because you lose $1. So if you do that, that should be 50 cents. This, because of the negative sign, should be minus 50 cents, so the answer is 0. If you have 0, we call that a fair gamble. Remember that, that's important. Now, next we want to introduce another scenario in which we call it a better than fair gamble. In this case, if you flip the coin, you get a hit, you win $2. Hey, yes. If it is a tail, you lose $1. So then if you recalculate that, so you change that number to 2, it's more positive than negative now, so this would be 50% chance that you get $2, you win $2. So therefore, this is $1. And then this is 50 cents, so $1 minus 50 cents, you get 50 cents at the end. So anything that's positive is known as better than fair gamble. And then we want to introduce 2 types of consumer. Please write this down. Risk averse and risk neutral. So we have 2 kinds of gamble. Let me write it down. One is known as fair gamble. Another one is known as better than fair gamble. Okay, so next we're gonna introduce 2 types of consumer right here. If you're a risk neutral person, basically you would accept any gamble that is fair or better. If you're risk neutral or indifferent. Now, if you're risk averse means, what's the word averse means?
Different.
You avoid, you don't like it. You don't like taking risk. So, if you're a risk averse person, you will not even touch fair gamble. You will only go for the better than fair gamble. So I don't want to draw a line here because the textbook definition is so straight that it say if you're risk averse, basically you won't even accept a fair gamble. Of course, there is another category which is not in your book. In economics, there's another group called risk lover. What do you think this guy would do?
Always take the gamble.
Anything. Yeah, anything goes. Better than fair, or worse than fair, they take it because they're risk level. And these are the people you see in casino in Las Vegas. Okay, let's look at one example very quickly using this concept. Should you search for another apartment? Searching for an apartment in a neighborhood where identical apartments will rent for $400 or $360. Okay, you only get those 2 prices, so now we want to calculate the probability. And it turns out that 80% of the apartment you look at, same identical apartment, they rent it for $400. 80%. And only 20% of the time you get lucky, $360. And then we give you some condition. We say, or assumption, you must visit the apartment to get the rental rate. You cannot call on the phone and say, hello, how much? Is it $340 or $400 or $360 or $400? They don't entertain you. You have to drive there. So driving there means there is this search cost, okay? And we're going to give it, the first visit is $400 apartment, okay, that's fine. The opportunity cost of an additional visit is $6. So we give that to you, meaning that, okay, whatever, gas money, time span, so we assume it to be uniform, which is 6. So how do you calculate that? The expected value of another visit is, let me work this out for you. Now, 0.2 is 20% of the times that you will end up getting lucky, you will get that 360. Now, if it is 360, how much are you saving? Between 400 and 360, you save $40. Very good. But then remember, you have to minus off that opportunity cost of another visit. So this is 40 minus $6, so therefore you get 34. Okay, so that's the first number. Everybody see it? So the next one is, however, there are 80% of the time that you will get this expensive one, which is $400. In this case, you're not saving anything, but you have incurred that $6, which is your opportunity cost, because so if you work this out here, the number is $2, so you could use your calculator. I'm not going to take time to do that. You get $2. So what does $2 here mean? Tell me the name of the gamble. if it is $2. Very good, better than fair gamble. So if it's better than fair gamble, who will take it? Which kind? We know risk level, yeah. But what about the other two? Yeah.
All three of them would take it.
All three of them will take it. Very good. Yeah. So since this is a better than fair gamble, if you're risk neutral, you will take it. And of course, if you're risk averse, you will also take it. And definitely, if you're risk level, you take it. So next, this is my last slide, and then I'll let you go. The commitment problem. We all have commitment. We talk about it. Problem. When the search cost is costly, well, have you ever signed a rental contract and then the landlord come up to you and say, excuse me, you know, somebody had just come by today and they're willing to pay $100 more for the monthly rent. Would you move out in a week? Whoa, you won't like that. Employment contract, same thing. You got hired, you got a 5-year contract, you won't like it, employer come up to you and say, hello, we just got a Harvard graduate, you know, I'm gonna hire him, probably you lay off. Whoops. It doesn't work that way because we have such a thing called the correct commitment problem, we have agreement contract. Same thing in marital contract. You got married, that's it, you know, and you're searching for a spouse, and finally, you know, you look everywhere for 6 months, you can't find it, Robertson County, so you go to Cumberland County, can't find it. Finally, you might extend it to South Carolina. After 3 years, you found your ideal spouse, you get married. So 20 years down the line, one day you woke up, look at your spouse and say, honey, I think I make a mistake. What happened? Slap, slap, divorce, right? That's bad, right? When information is costly, the search must be limited. So that's how we correct this problem. Okay, how do you limit people, tell them it's time to stop? That is, yes, you make a commitment, you sign the agreement, get married, get the job, sign the contract, and what's the other one? Sign the rental agreement, and then that's it. Nothing else. Although people did, to some extent, sometimes violate the contract. But this is how we solve the too much information problem. How long are you going to search for a spouse? Forever? 9 years? So finally, once you sign the contract, you see, that's it, I end my search. I got it. So that's the idea behind it. Okay, have a good weekend. I'll see you next Monday. I'll finish up this chapter on Monday.